Air Force. Black service members are more likely investigated and disciplined. Black service members in the Air Force are far more likely to be investigated, arrested, and face disciplinary actions and be discharged for misconduct, according to a new report that looked at racial disparities across the service. I wonder why. I bet it's racism. The report by the Air Force Inspector General released Monday said black members of the Air Force and Space Force are less likely to be promoted to higher enlisted and officer ranks, and 1/3 of them believe they don't get the same opportunities as their white peers. Bullshit. Well, that is true. They don't get the same. They actually get extra. They get special protections. They get special privileges. They get treated better. Speaking from personal experience. And it concluded that racial disparities exist for black service members, but the data did not explain why it happens. Well, their own actions come with consequences. The report comes as the Pentagon struggles with a broader effort to expand diversity within the ranks. The Defense Department last week endorsed a new slate of initiatives to more aggressively recruit, retain, and promote a more racially, ethnically diverse force. And it called for members to plan a crackdown on participating in hate groups by service members and drafted proposed changes to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So, blacks make up 13% of the U.S. population, but in the Army, they make up 20% of our soldiers. I don't know how much more diverse you can get. Do they mean less black people? The Air Force IG reported outlined data for racial inequalities that have long been suspected. It said that a large number of black service members reported experiences with bias and racism. Committing acts of bias and racism, I think, is what they meant. Again, from my personal experience, what I witnessed firsthand. And while those reports were difficult to validate within the study, you can't validate their lies. The review concluded that it was reasonable to conclude that individual acts of racism have occurred in the Department of the Air Force. Yeah, right. One black squadron commander who was interviewed, for example, said the only mentoring he received throughout his career was from other black leaders. And he said at times black service members make one mistake and it ends their career. I think what he's talking about is lower enlisted gets fucked while higher enlisted never gets fucked. So when I was in Special Forces group, the SF guys, they got special treatment. They can get 3 DUIs and not be kicked out of the military. But my buddy, who was in E4 and wasn't Special Forces, he got 1 DUI and he got kicked out. See, the black guy who got 3 DUIs, he gets to stay in. The white guy who got 1 DUI, he gets kicked out. Is that racism? Discrimination beliefs cut across the ranks. As many as half of black surveys responded they had been discriminated against because of their race. About 45% of black general officers, they included 1-star to 4-star generals, said they had experienced discrimination. In contrast, 94% of white general officers said they didn't face discrimination based on their race, which is bullshit. We have primed an entire race in America to feel victimized at every point in their career in life, that anything that they fuck up is the white man's fault. White people are taught that they are the only ones who are racist and they can't face racism. And that's probably why so many white people said they didn't face racism. Senior Air Force and Space Force, I still can't get over Space Force, leaders asked for updates within 60 days on how to address a number of issues, including disparity in discipline and the fact that 6% of black service members said they don't get the same benefit of doubt as their white peers if they get in trouble. Probably because if the same person continues to get in trouble time and time again, you're not going to believe their bullshit excuses. But when one person gets in trouble one time, and it's only been once, you're probably going to cut him some slack. That has to do with racism, it has to do with how the person is acting. Air Force Secretary Barbara Barrett added that leaders will take appropriate actions to remove barriers and expand mentorship and other programs to encourage diversity. See, when I was in the Army, when I was stationed in Germany, we were told that junior enlisted and senior enlisted weren't allowed to hang out with each other. So E4 and below had to hang out with each other, E5 and above had to hang out with each other. But the blacks got to mingle and hang out, even though they were breaking the rule that junior enlisted and senior enlisted weren't supposed to hang out. It only applied to the whites. The blacks got to break this rule and get special treatment, and yet then they go on to complain about the racism they face. When you fuck up, it's your fault. Get over it. If you made it this far in the video, don't forget that we live in an extremely racist country that hates white people, and I'm fucking tired of it.